Welcome to Podnutz Daily, episode number 275. Podnutz Daily is a show about computer repair. We bring a computer repair technician on the show. He gives us tips and tricks and techniques, and hopefully he can help you guys in whatever jobs or endeavors you are encountering in your computer repair business. And joining us, you guys should definitely know him. It's Reliant in the chat room, and his real name is Kevin Adair. And hey, Kevin, how you doing today?
Good, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. I'm a little invisible if you guys are looking at me on the video because of my green screen. So if I look a little green, it's just because of the background.
Should we call you the Green Hornet tonight? Then, or?
You can call me the Green Hornet if we call you Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, that'll work.
You definitely set up the lighting in Star Wars fashion.
I don't seem to have my lightsaber here, so I have to go do without it.
That's awesome. And Kevin's site is top2toppros.com. It's top2toppros.com. Okay, Kevin. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Okay, thanks for having me on again, Steve. I really enjoyed my first time that I was there a couple months ago, and I couldn't wait to get back. So here I am.
Awesome. Glad you signed up. So I'm assuming that you have some stuff for us, huh?
Yes, I do. But before I begin, I had my first visit to Micro Center, and I've been getting their flyers in the mail and whatever. But the nearest store for me is like 35 miles away. But I had a customer up that way a couple of weeks ago, and my wife and I decided to jot on over to visit the store.
Where are you at? Which store?
I'm in Akron, Ohio. That's like 30 miles south of Cleveland. And the store is in, the name of the town escapes me right now.
That's all right.
Mayfield Heights. Mayfield Heights.
Okay.
And,
I think they started in Ohio, didn't they? Or is it my imagination? I think that might be their home base in Ohio.
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't. Yeah. But anyways, when I walked in there, my wife said I was like a kid in a candy store.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, she said my eyes just like glazed over. I was ignoring her, everybody else. I was just looking at the shelves and like, oh my goodness.
That is awesome. It was like time to play.
Yep. Hey, how do you like the logo on my website?
I really like it. it. Let me pull it up for the folks to see on the video. Hang on a sec. Yeah, it's good. And you also added another thing on your website, which I was strongly urging you to do, and I'm happy that you finally did it. And that is putting a picture of you fixing the computer. I'm telling you, if anybody's having a problem with their AdWords or they say in the tech site builder, it looks great, but they're not getting any calls or whatever, do what Kevin did and put a picture of yourself fixing your computer like I instruct in the videos, and I guarantee that'll give you more business than you're getting by just putting a map or a logo or something else. As far as your logo, that's awesome. Did you make that yourself?
No, that's why I brought it up. This is a tip. Where I work, we have a graphics arts graduate. She's in her final year for the Akron University around here. And I got to thinking, I go, well, she needs the experience, and I'd be willing to pay her, whatever she wanted. She only charged me $7.50 an hour, $7.50 an hour.
No.
And that took her well, I also had a flyer that she did for me too. So all that together was like 10 hours. So I mean, for like $75 compared to what you would pay an advertising agent for, that was a steal.
Wow, that's a great deal for a logo.
Yeah. So anybody, you might want to go to a college Starbucks or something like that, and ask anybody who might be a graphics artist major. They might be able to help you out, get your site going.
That's awesome. Just walk into a college Starbucks. I bet you that's all there is in there.
Probably. Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for some stories?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. My first story is an eMac. You remember those, Steve?
Oh gosh, the CRTs, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Now this was kind of an odd situation to begin with. The owner's grandfather was in New York, and he didn't even sign my contract, and I was nervous about this during the whole thing, during the whole initial aspect of it. I was talking to him on Skype, and he said he found me on Craigslist, and I'm like, I hardly know this guy. For one thing, he's 2 states away. How do I trust him? Just to get his trust, just to get to see what he would do. I eventually talked him into giving me a $60 deposit through a PayPal account.
Okay.
So that's how I knew that he would be eligible for me to work with because
Why did he give you a bad feeling at first? What
um,
vibe were you
bec-
getting?
because he was refusing for me to send him a PDF of my service contract and signing it. He did not want to do it. And I said, Doc, that's his name. He was an old doctor, and he turned his nickname into Doc. I said, Doc, in my business, I won't even touch a computer before I get somebody's signature agreeing to my terms of the contract.
Right.
And he explained that he was old school, that he knew how he could trust people. And the issue of me doing the job correctly would never enter his mind. It was just he wanted to find somebody here in Ohio to take care of his granddaughter, which was some miles south of where I lived. So
So it wasn't his computer. Okay, it was his granddaughter's computer. He
right,
was setting it up remotely for her.
right. So what I did was is I talked to the mom about the situation. And she says, I'll be glad to sign it, and that way you can get this job done because all I want is for her computer to be fixed. And so, it worked out amicably, and at least I had a signature to go on.
Okay.
Okay. But anyways, the Macs that I fixed in my past, most of them have been able to be solved by reinstall. They just get cluttered, and it's just a matter of putting the OS 10 back in, and you're fine. Um, this thing would not run right to begin with. It would You would start to move the mouse and it would shut down. I mean, literally freeze on the screen. Nothing you could do. Reboot, do the same thing again. I couldn't get nothing that I had on me to work to find out what was wrong with the hard drive. So I called her back down there because sometimes people will tell you what data they need and then they forget something and then they say, "Oh, you didn't save this." So
Right.
I always make a double phone call just to make sure. And she assured me that there was nothing on there that she wanted and that the iTunes that was on there was from her own CDs. So,
Now wait,
you know,
what did you take this back to your shop or something? Is that
yeah,
okay?
I'm sorry. I took it back to my shop
Okay.
and we're done there.
Okay.
But like I said, the music was not her only concern. There was a couple pictures I was able to get out, and but the music is like I said, she had the CDs for, and she could put it back in later on.
Okay.
So I did a reinstall, and the same thing happened. It just would freeze right away.
Damn.
I'm going, yeah, and I'm going, what is going on with this thing? And just to make sure that I was doing my job properly, I went ahead and did it the second time, another reinstall. Uh, Nothing. It was just impossible to work with.
When was it after you did the reinstall and you started it up again? When did it hang up? Every time you started using the mouse, or?
Immediately when I started testing the mouse, it just would freeze.
And then, but the
Bam.
reinstall went fine.
Reinstall went fine. The hard drive took it. The computer took it.
Because you have to use the mouse for a reinstall.
No. I was trying to get into the menus. I was trying to get to the Safari to put iTunes back in.
No, I mean, but like when you're doing a reinstall, you got to use the mouse to like click things, don't you?
Yeah.
And that was working for while you were doing the reinstall.
No wait. There was only. I thought there was only. I could be wrong. There was only like one or two clicks. After that, it was okay.
Okay.
But anyways, I got to thinking about Leo was talking to somebody a couple months before that about the same exact problem. And he said that there were some complaints about capacitor issues on that type of model. So I went into all the Apple forums that I could find about that particular model number, and they were all saying the same thing. The computer would freeze. The computer would freeze. And finally, all the issues that were solved, it was a bad capacitor problem. So I called the granddad in New York and I told him what I found out. And he says, "Well, can you replace the logic board?" And I said, Doc, if this was a regular desktop, I would, but I do not touch TVs. I told him. I'm not going to get my butt shocked with 70,000 volts clear across the room. I seen it happen to a friend of mine, and he was not the same for a couple days afterwards.
Okay.
So he agreed. He says, "You know what, Kevin? I forgot all about it being a all-in-one unit." He goes, "What do you recommend?" I said, "Well, Doc, it's 10 years old. It might be just time to retire the thing anyways." And he goes, "Yeah, you're right." He goes, "You have any suggestions for a newer model?" And at the time, everybody was raving about the iPad, and I told him about the iPad, and he says, "Yeah, I remember hearing about it." But it was $349, and he didn't really have that. I says,
How
"Well,
can you get an iPad for $349?
at the time when I went to Apple, well, I went to a website and I saw it for 349. It was a Wi-Fi model.
Okay.
Okay, and
That's a good price. They sell them for $500, so it must have been used or refurbished or something.
I think that's what it was. I think
Okay.
it was referred. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what it was. I went to the Apple refurb site, and that's
Oh,
what they had.
gotcha.
That's I always go there first because you never know. You could luck out and getting a good deal
Now, what
on a
made you think about iPad instead of getting just a new computer?
because it was an Apple machine. She loved her Apple machine. It was a 12-year-old girl, and she just absolutely was crazy over this eMac. And so I figured, maybe a little bit of learning curve with the updated model, but she should be better off with it. And she wanted something she could take it to school with because her school is getting into using computers now.
Well, yeah, if that's the case, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, but he didn't like the price on that. And then at the time, the
Huh.
Best Buy was, I know, well, he's retired. I mean, he doesn't really have the money for it. So uh, at the time, Best Buy was selling those Toshibas for $299.
Mm-hmm.
And so I suggested that to him. He bought it from his location at a local Best Buy here. All I had to do, excuse me, I gotta get some water here. Hold on a minute.
No problem. Take your time. I pause the recording.
Okay, thank you.
Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Anyways, he bought it. He sent me an email regarding the receipt for it, and I went up there, got it out the store, no problem. I told my wife, "Why do I feel like I'm taking off of somebody else's computer?" But it was all cool. And so I took it down after I set it up. Um, what I do with a new computer is I use the decrapifier program.
Nice.
Yeah, I take out all the trialware, all of a sudden it'll pop up, try Microsoft Office for 30 days,
Right.
that stuff.
It's called PC decrapifier, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I use that. And so I got all that out. And then the next thing I do is I go into Task Manager to see what unnecessary stuff is still left in there that would be memory hogs. And there was quite a bit in there. And what I did was I started taking out the Toshiba extras, like the Toshiba Media Center.
Oh man, yeah. If you got about an hour, you could definitely do that.
Exactly, and it ran so much smoother,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the thing that I didn't tell you about before in my notes was that the grandfather bought his granddaughter a remote mouse. So what I did was I disabled the touchpad because I figured she wasn't going to use the touchpad anyways.
Right.
I've done this before with other computers, brand new computers, and people were happy at least, And you can always enable the function anyways later, with that little FN key.
Yeah.
But guess what Toshiba did with this model? They included those F buttons in with their media center that I just took out. So when I disable the touchpad and I'm thinking everything's okay, I get a phone call a couple of days later saying, "Kevin, my daughter wants to use the touchpad because she's using it in her bed or on the couch."
Oh man.
Yeah. So I explained to her before I left the first time. I said, you can use this button and touch this F9 button.
Yeah.
And it will reactivate. And apparently it wasn't doing that.
What is it, like the hotkeys or something it's called, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what I had to do is I took it back home and I'm fighting with this thing, trying to get it to come back on. I'm going on the forums. Yes, there were problems with other touchpads just disappearing on people and all that. But, it's like nothing I did made a difference. So before I did that, I did a system restore. I set up a system restore point.
Mm-hmm.
and I went back to that, and it came back to life.
It did. The touchpad did.
Yeah, so
Because
I had to
that doesn't actually return files that you delete.
Well, I called Toshiba just on the off chance, and the customer service rep was very understanding about it. And she said that unfortunately, with this year's model, they put the media center along with the F1 through 12 buttons.
Yeah.
So, and anyways, I had to put it back the way it was. I got out other stuff that I thought wasn't working right, and taking up memory. And so far, it's been about, I don't know, about going on 4 months now. I haven't heard from them again. I did get another job from mom. She got a virus on her computer, and I was able to take care of that. But I mean,
you couldn't beat that deal. It was a Celeron processor, but it's right. I think it was a Celeron, but you can't beat the $299 price tag on that. And if you rip off all the crapware, it's gonna run good. I mean, Windows 7 will run good with just bare bones 7.
Yes, it would. But there was a problem with these machines because I went into Best Buy to return an item that I bought the wrong item and I went to return it.
Yeah.
And I saw 3 of those same units go out the Geek Squad window.
Really?
Yes, I saw 3 people walk in, grab their new Toshiba units, and walk right back out. So apparently, maybe there was a known issue with these things. I don't know.
But you haven't heard anything yet from your customer.
No, they've been perfectly. Well, I did hear from her about her Yahoo account getting compromised. I just explained to her, change your password. But other than that, no, there's nothing been.
And she was happy moving from Mac to Windows, huh?
Yeah. Well, she already knew Windows.
Okay.
Her mom had a Windows Dell Windows, and her sisters was a Dell Windows. They all changed up for some reason. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's the way it was.
Good.
So it all worked out.
Good one.
Yep. I got a power jack repair.
Okay.
And this is one of those Acer Aspire 1 netbooks.
Yes.
You talk about.
You titled this your mini power jack.
Yes. Because the thing was so tiny, Steve. I was nervous to begin with. Once I saw it, I'm going, oh man,
Yeah.
And I used the Radio Shack method, but I had to modify your method a little bit. The location of this mini jack was in such a place it was right next to the hinge for the screen.
Right.
So I had no real room to work with. It was so tight that I couldn't even get the wire to go from post to post. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With the way you explain your videos.
Yeah.
So what I did was I took a little bit longer piece of wire, and I wrapped it from, if you can imagine the location of the DC power jack, and I wrapped the wire around the circuit board to the post on the bottom of the circuit board, and then I soldered it to that connection. And it took me several times because no matter where I put that wire, that stupid hinge would get into the way. And so finally, I found I mapped it out so where nothing would interfere with it, not even closing the lid. And I put a piece of electrical tape around the wire to protect it. And but I couldn't really guarantee the work because it's just because what I had to do. I explained to him, I showed him where it was on the corner of the computer, but he was cool about it and he was very happy about it. I haven't heard from him. And the reason why he wanted it back was because his wife was pregnant at the time and they don't have a landline, so that was his only means of communication with her was through Skype between his office and home.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of just did like a modified version of the power jack fix by just taking a wire and moving it somewhere, or?
Yeah, I just took it. If you can imagine the top of the motherboard where the DC power jack is, on the corner of the motherboard, okay, and then I took a piece of that Radio Shack wire and I soldered both pieces. I tinned both ends, and both ends took right away, and I just left it alone.
Okay.
I said I'm not going to fool with it.
Right.
I made a wire as with barely enough slack
right.
to do the job, but not enough to interfere with the case itself.
And so what size power jack did you put on it? It's the Radio Shack size M?
No, it was the original power jack.
Okay.
But I was able to save it.
I see. So you just ran wires to it. Okay.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yeah, I ran wires
Gotcha.
to it.
Okay,
I
makes
did
sense.
I found it strange because both the power jack and his charger went out at the same time. Because when I got it back together, well, before I took it apart, I checked the power jack, or
The
the
adapter.
battery chart, the adapter, and there was it was intermittent voltage. It was you could see the meter going up and down, up and down, up and down. And so I ordered it, and I did the post while I was waiting for the battery charger to come in the mail. I did a post check, and with needle nose pliers, and it was definitely loose. So I did the other one anyways, and just charged them the same rate because I was not comfortable with the way when you put in the jack, it was just way loose. So
Yeah, yeah.
I just took care of it that way. But when I got it back to him, he goes, "Kevin, you the man." I get that a lot. So
Good
I
job.
get
A lot of people wouldn't
I,
brave. A lot of people wouldn't brave that job.
it's like I told him. He goes, we were talking about the change of technology and how pretty soon that there wasn't going to be a need for an operating system, just a wireless device of some kind. And I says, hey, whatever it takes to learn, I'll tear into a machine and get it back together. I'm not afraid.
Right.
I'm
Good
not.
for you. Good for you.
I'm not.
Well done.
Um, Thank you. My next job is called the top seated solution. Okay, it's a compact for stereo, another DC power jack repair. The customer is an electrical engineer, but he already had it apart, and I mean completely apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that since he already had it apart, I couldn't guarantee that I could put it back together because I had no idea what went where. Um,
Do you know what model Presario?
uh,
Don't worry about it. Just curious.
oh, yeah,
For
yeah.
my own interest.
I'll email it to you later. It's in my
Okay.
notes
All right.
somewhere in the computer. But I'm not going to take a responsibility for a laptop that was already taken apart.
Right.
And I use TechNibble's business contract, and I put an extra paragraph in there about motherboard repair. I put down, outside of the actual repair that I'm doing, in this case, a DC power jack, I am not going to be responsible for any other damage on the motherboard because on those motherboards, as you know, the parts can be so close to the power jack that anything can happen to those other ports due to a heat issue or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I tell him, I says, I'd be happy to replace the motherboard, but I won't be held responsible for any other damage. And they agreed to it, and he signed the contract. So we were cool about it. He already bought the DC power jack, and he took off the old one with a pair of pliers.
He did.
Yes, he did. He took the old one off because I suppose he had to compare it with one that he bought in the mail. I don't know why he did it. I was like, you should see the look on my face when I saw it. But it's like, but the way he took it off, Steve, he really twisted those studs
Yeah.
in that motherboard. And I knew it was going to be a job to desolder those studs. I even went to a reballer site and, just to see what um, what the technique was and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I took a desoldering iron, the Radio Shack
Mm-hmm.
45 watt one, and I got a couple of the holes to clear through, with the ball.
All right.
And then I tried the pick tool that Tim mentioned a couple of shows ago
Right.
to get the rest of the iron out. It was just so tightly in there
Yeah.
that it was just impossible to get out. I mean, I must have worked, I don't know, 3 hours one night and maybe another two the next night because
Right.
I have a day job. And so I called him, and he said that he was an electrical engineer. He wasn't comfortable deciding by himself. And I told him what was going on, and what I just told you. So he then suggested that if I could, what he called top seat the jack on the motherboard, meaning whereas I would cut off a little bit of the leads just to get it almost to the exact same place where the manufacturer had it, where it would still go through the case and be a good connection through the case. I then soldered the corners that I could, and I went on the other side and I soldered the post down, and I took out my voltmeter. I got a real good connection, and it's still working pretty good for him today. So I got another Kevin, you the man.
That's a good one. Let me see if I get this straight. So you kept the posts in, and you just took the new jack and you just put it on top of the old posts.
Yeah, I did it by leaving as much of a ball of solder that I could, so that it could hold the jack still, and also hold those studs onto the older studs on the motherboard.
So you cut the studs on the new one.
Yes.
I see, and you made them real
Now,
short, and you just soldered them to the old studs.
exactly.
Okay, and
And
it felt tight. It felt good.
it felt real good. I waited about an hour. I went on to another job, and it came back, and it felt real good. I put the thing back together, and of course, there was a little bit of an angle issue to get the jack in there, but it works. And
Wow.
yeah.
Good
I
luck with
was
that one. I wish I could see a picture of the job you did, because it seems a little. I'd be worried it's gonna pop up, but you must have did a good solder job. I mean, you must have did
well,
a good job.
after high school, I went to electronics school, basic
Okay.
electronics school, and as part of that school, we learned mil spec soldering. And at the time it was 4.5. I'm sure it's like 12 point something now, or whatever it is.
So
Um,
so you know how to
it
solder well.
yeah, it paid off. Yeah,
Good,
it paid.
good job, man. Well done. What do people say? You the man, Kevin. You the man, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm the man. I'm the man. Well, it's like I just shrug my shoulders. I just say, I mean, I don't try to live on the outside of humility, if you get my drift. I don't like it. I've always been that way.
Right.
And I say, well, just refer me to somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
Cool.
he gave me my next job is called the Flaky HP laptop,
I
and
love their titles.
I got to thinking about it yesterday. I was putting all this together. I go, I got to put some titles on this stuff, man.
Okay, the flaky HP laptop. The story of the flaky HP laptop.
Yeah, Reballer helped me out with this. I think Tim did,
Okay.
and it was driving me nuts. Uh, HP NX 6110. It was only about a year old, and it was not getting patched past the HP event welcome screen.
A year old, a 6110.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I couldn't understand that. Yeah, it was just it wouldn't go through. Once in a while, it did go through after restart, and then you'll get to it asking for a BIOS password. Well, I couldn't reset the BIOS password. I took out the battery on the inside of the computer, and I let it sit for 24 hours, and I was still getting the password request. Um, and this was after restart, trying just to get to that point to see how far I could get before I went any further. As far as getting past the welcome screen, I tried everything. I tried Knoppix. I tried Trinity.
Wait a minute. The HP welcome. So you couldn't. Okay. So you couldn't get past the BIOS password then.
When the computer would go past the HP event,
Yeah.
then it would go to the BIOS screen.
Right.
But
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
okay. So I tried everything: Knoppix, Trinity, Ubuntu, even SpinRite, and some other stuff that I learned in the Podnutz forums.
Yeah.
Um, when I would put those discs in, the CD-ROM starts spinning, but then it goes, and I couldn't even run memtest
You
to see what it was.
no. You shouldn't be able to do anything if there's a BIOS password. It's not going to let you get past it.
That's the point. I couldn't even get to it, and
But you can't. Don't even try. If you have a BIOS password, don't try any. No disks will work because it won't let you through to the disk drive. So the only way to get past a BIOS password is to get rid of the BIOS password.
yeah. So I think it was Reballer. He suggested to do a BIOS update because sometimes that will reset the BIOS upon the update version.
Okay.
Um, and he suggested the floppy. Well, it didn't have a floppy drive, but I went on the HP support pages. I found the updated BIOS, and it still wasn't going to get me through. So just to put my mind at ease, I just went through the normal troubleshooting stuff. I took out the hard drive, then the CD-ROM, then the memory. When I took the hard drive out, I was able to get to the BIOS password, but
Wait a minute. What do you mean?
it automatically go past. This is the trouble I've had with this machine.
It just
I
doesn't
mean,
make any sense. It must not be a BIOS
nothing,
password then.
nothing. You'll find out.
Okay.
Nothing made sense. You go through your usual troubleshooting routine, and you find out a totally different reaction, and you're scratching your head, and you're going, "What the?" I'll keep it clean, but
So you took
it's just
the hard drive out and you were able to get to the
was
BIOS. What do you mean by that?
I was able to get to the BIOS password screen. It just went immediately right there. So I'm thinking hard drive, and so I called a customer up to see if he remembered any more passwords, and he remembered one that worked. But at that time, when the Windows screen would come up, it was like, you're taking a flashcard, you take your Windows screen and you cut it up into flashcards. It's like somebody was laying down the flashcards one right after the other at a slow pace. And I'm going, it's got to be the hard drive.
Right.
So, uh, I found a new hard drive on for $60 on eBay,
Uh-huh.
and he also wanted me to try a motherboard because he was convinced it was the motherboard. I told him, I said that didn't make sense, but I'm willing to go ahead and try it his way. He's the customer. So um, I ordered both, and the hard drive came in first.
Okay.
And I put it in and put in the reinstall recovery disk that the computer, it came with the computer, and nothing happened. The same thing happened. And I'm going, oh man, this is not happening.
You mean with the flashcards?
Yeah, no, not even with flashcards. Not even, when the line that comes up that says setup is now inspecting your hardware, that wouldn't come up. And I'm going, man. So the next day the motherboard came in, and I put in the new motherboard and took out the chip off the old one, and I transferred everything over. And I put in the old hard drive just to see what would happen, and nothing. So I then put in a new hard drive, did the system reinstall okay, and went through. I got all the updates going, blah, blah, blah. Then the customer called me saying that he had forgotten that there was some data that he wanted me to try to pull off the old drive. I said, sure, I'll try it. So I got an enclosure for it. It was one of those Fujitsu drives, Steve, and it had an adapter that you put on there to go into the HP socket.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was I got it onto my bench computer, and I'm able to access the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, that doesn't make sense either. And I'm going, okay, let's see what happens. So I took out the new hard drive I just installed. I put in the old one, and it came back to life. It was like a whole new hard drive in there. And so, I'm like, okay, this is not right. And uh, it just it did not make sense to me during the whole thing. I'm just glad that I was able to to save his data, to save his old hard drive. I warned him. I put crystal disk info on there. It said it was okay. I said just keep an eye, run crystal disk at least once a month. If it ever shows red, then to call me and I'll put the new hard drive back in for you. So if I don't hear within a month, I'll put the new hard drive back on eBay for sale and just go from there.
I don't know,
But
man. I have nothing. I don't know what to say about that. That's like just crazy. That was crazy all around.
if I had to write a report, I would put down demon possessed.
That was messed up. Oh, you got it running. You got the job done. Hey, that's all that matters is to get the end product.
Well, it's I want to get the job done. I want to get it in my house, and I want to get it back to the customer as soon as I can.
Sure.
And it's like I'm wasting all this time, and I've had other issues with other laptops before, but nothing that lasted. Fortunately, I had the time to work with to wait for the parts to come in the mail. But if this was crunch comes to serve, I would have been out on my butt, I would think.
Right.
But fortunately, most of my customers, and this is a segue into my next story. They're pretty understanding. They say, "Well, how long is this going to take?" And I explain my procedures, and they say, oh, "Okay, I just want a working computer." But my final job is entitled "Not All Jobs Have Happy Endings." You already know what I'm going to talk about.
I guess so.
I've ran this by several other people, and they all have the same opinion, and I hope that you will. And anyways, um, I get a call to do a virus removal. My wife took the call and asked what time, this is important, we could pick up the unit.
Okay.
The guy said any time that day. I go over after work and explain to him the procedure of what I do to fix the machine. I said I try to root out the problem first to see if I could get the virus out and to see how it worked after that. Then if Windows was still acting funky, I did a reinstall of the whole Windows system.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "How long would that take?" I says, "The scans usually take several hours, so that's usually one day. Now, if the scans are able to quarantine them okay, and then I could get rid of them after that, then you have it back in one day." And it says, again, I explained this to my customers. They seem pretty cool about it. I have a day job, otherwise it probably wouldn't be that long.
Right.
But just then he becomes arrogant. He goes, "What do you mean 2 days? I've had this problem 4 times this year, and all the guy had to do was put in a thumb drive, and it was fixed in 15 minutes." Obviously, whoever was doing it was doing a system restore and then going from there, and then made his $120 or whatever, you know.
Right. Right.
And I try to tell him in a very nice way. I stay calm. I try to calm him down, and I says that the solution that you obviously went through 3 times before me was band-aided. And the reason why I'm here now is because it's obviously the thumb drive didn't do the job.
Right.
And he goes, "Well, how much would it cost for me to do it at his house?" And I said it would be 60 an hour. And he seemed at first okay with that. And it's like I almost got the feeling I was working with a double personality. You know, we'll call it the Timster factor because Timster's crazy lady. But
Yeah, not Timster, his customer.
yeah, not Timster. I'm going to get yelled at here in the chat for a minute.
So
He's
now
like,
Timster's a torrent downloading schizophrenic.
there you go. Hey, Tim, how you like your new title?
Oh man.
Okay, I then told him because my wife said that we were going to pick it up at his request that I was not prepared to fix it on site. That I would go back to my shop, which is a couple miles away, and I would be right back to do the job that night.
Okay.
Okay, he goes, "Let me give you a piece of advice. You should explain it to me to start with." Now remember, this was after my wife asked what time we could pick up the unit. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. I was getting this annoyed headache in the back of my head.
Right.
You know, when you come across people who are that way, my dad was a self-employed carpenter for many, many years. And the reason why I think I do so good with people is because of the experience I learned with being with him on his estimates and getting jobs so he can pay for his family.
Right.
You know, so I'm like, this is not going right. There's something wrong here. I could be here for maybe 3-4 hours. He will never ever be happy.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and so I more or less offered to say, okay, we could say the job never happened, you know, and go our separate ways.
Right.
And he was okay with it. And then he calmed down and he goes, "Well, let me pay you at least $20." I says, "Just give me 10." Because I'm trying to be nice to him because maybe he'll see that my solution would be the better fix, you know, to get the job done right so he doesn't have to keep on calling people out.
Right.
You follow? Because you don't want to turn people off just because they're giving you a hard time. He might have been just having a bad day.
Right. Right. Right.
And I was just like at the end of it and, you know, taking the grunt of it, you know. So, but again, we left shaking hands and I apologized, you know, for not being able to get the job done the way he wanted, even though it wasn't my fault. And, you know, it was a nice way to leave, you know. It was, you know, hopefully he'll call me back again.
I think you did you did a couple things right there. You left. Oh, my cat's up here. You left on good terms. You didn't lose your cool. You didn't lose your temper, and you didn't do the job. Like it would have. I think the best thing you did in that whole thing was just said, I don't care how much I'm going to make on this. I am leaving. Like, and just didn't do it because you don't want I said it before. You don't want crazy people on your lines. They will just mess things up. So if you get the idea that somebody's nuts, don't think about the money. Just turn around, walk away, be nice, shake their hand, and say, sorry, I can't help you. I'm sorry. You're out of there. So I think you did the right thing there.
Well, on the opposite side of the table, I neglected to put this in the notes, but a while ago I had a hypochondriac, and he wasn't that bad. He would just ask question after question after question after question. I must have been there 3 hours to pick up the unit and another 3 hours to take back the unit. But it's like I told you. My dad said you had to be patient with some people, and I was patient. He gave me a $40 tip.
That's good. That's
good.
So
it's just it's just a way of how you treat people and how they'll remember you in the future, and hopefully you can get them back.
Good. I agree with you on that. Cool.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of my stories for tonight.
That's all your stories. Story time with Kevin. All right. I feel like we should all be sitting Indian style around our computers and listening to your stories.
You could use for the title "Stories by the Campfire" or something like that.
All right. You want to do some emails here?
Sure.
And then, guys, I know that some of the voicemails weren't playing, so I'm going to replay all the voicemails. So we got a ton of voicemails. I'm not going to do them all today. So if you did send me a voicemail, it will be played, but maybe not today. So let's just start with some emails here. This is from Adam. I read that one last time. I just didn't check it off. So this one's from Larry. I have a Power Mac G4 with a dual 450 megahertz processor with a 30 gigabyte hard drive. I would like to transfer my data to a Western Digital hard drive which formats out to 128 gigabytes. Okay. I also would not like to lose all the updates to OS 10 and other software upgrades. I already have without having to do a clean install, and in the process lose much of what I already have in place. Is this possible, and is there a utility which will help out other than Mac? Any solution would be welcome. Okay, so it's a Power Mac G4, 450 megahertz, 30 gig hard drive. It wants to transfer his data to a Western Digital hard drive, which formats as okay. What else not to lose the updates? Yeah, Larry, you can do this. I think I used either Carbon Copy Cloner or Super Duper. I think it was Super Duper.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Super Duper.
Yeah, and you just clone the drive to the bigger drive. And I don't remember if Super Duper extends the partition or you do that in the actual OS after it's copied over. I think Super Duper uses the whole drive. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure it does, too.
Yeah, so you just clone it, Super Duper to another Western Digital drive, and then flip the drives, and you should be perfectly fine. It should be exactly the same. Good luck with that one. All right, this is from Mike. I thought I would relate my... I'm just going to say it. I thought I would relate my Geek Squad story. You can leave out Geek Squad or Best Buy if you think they wouldn't appreciate this. Well, Mike, I don't think they'll appreciate this, but I'm going to keep it in anyway. So how about that? My wife had a compact laptop. I bought her for about 4 years, and after about a year and a half, we started to notice sparking when you plugged in the power adapter. After another month or two, the battery seemed not to be charging. Then after another month or two, the laptop wouldn't boot at all. I thought about taking the thing apart, but with work and the kids, there wasn't a lot of time, so I decided to seek out the Geek Squad. Upon my arrival, I was told it would be $80 to diagnose, and if I decided to repair it, the $80 would be credited towards my repair. I said, okay, and I left the laptop. After 2 weeks, I received a call from a gentleman who identified himself as a Geek Squad rep. He said that the motherboard was fried, and it would be $900 to replace. Oh, this cracks me up. I told him that the laptop only cost me $425 and I didn't want the work done. $900. Come on.
Yeah, believe that.
After a few days, I received a call from Best Buy to pick up my laptop. That isn't even the end. I'm just flabbergasted. I cannot believe this. If this email is true to fact, I cannot believe this. Okay, the laptop sat in my basement for 2.5 years. After listening to your podcast and finding a video online with instructions for disassembling the same make and model laptop, I decided to give it a go. I figured that the power adapter board was the issue, and I could order a replacement online. Well, I separated the case. When I separated the case, a screw popped out. It was one of the screws holding the processor heat shield down right next to the adapter board and jack. I fastened the screw, put the thing back together, and it worked. The battery charges and all as well. My theory is that the screw got dislodged due to heat or incorrect assembly at the factory and was shorting the power adapter, which was just right next to it. Now we have an extra laptop, and the moral of the story is that the Geek Squad screwed me. The gentleman that called that day for the Geek Squad had a thick southern accent, so thinking back on it, Best Buy must farm out a lot of their work to subcontractors. I'm assuming that he didn't even look at the laptop, because if he opened it, he would have found the screw and diagnosed the problem. My guess is that he had many desktops and laptops to debug, so maybe he tried to power it up, it didn't work, and he said bad motherboard and moved on to the next machine. I will never recommend the Geek Squad to anyone. Thanks for all you do. Love the shows, Mike. Good job, Mike. You fixed it, man. On your own.
I had a unit that was motherboard labeled from the Geek Squad, and all it was just a matter of reformatting the drive, and it came back. It was just fine.
No.
And yes, and I'm like, these guys, they want to charge you $147 just to come out to your place, and then they charge you another $100 or so to do the job. I don't understand the fascination of going to that store for your repairs. I just don't get it.
Well, they have the marketing budget. A lot of people buy their computers from there, and it's like a car dealer. You think that when you take your car back to the place you bought it, you're gonna get better service. I don't know, and people just don't know any better. And the trick about you could really con people in laptop repair, because you could tell them the motherboard's fried. You can't open up and get to the motherboard like popping the hood on your car. It's like you have to unscrew everything. You can lie through your teeth about a motherboard being fried. Nobody's going to try to... Most people aren't going to try to find out if you're right or not, because it's really hard to tell, So you just got to take their word for it. So it's an easy out. Saying a motherboard's fried is an easy out, especially when we know that most of the time it's power jack, which, it is attached to the motherboard. So if we all start charging $900, then we'll all be rich and put the Geek Squad out of business.
Yep.
All right. Let's see here. That was that email. Dan says, don't know if you kept up with IE9 beta lately, but I myself have had some problems with it. Just in case you get any computers in using IE9 beta, here's some feedback on it. For one, in my case, it causes a blue screen with the hex code 0x000000116. IE9 must have had a problem with my onboard Intel Graphics Media Drive accelerator driver, because the blue screen indicated that particular driver was involved. Just to be sure, I reinstalled the graphics driver, but no fix. Not using IE9 does fix it. I just went ahead and uninstalled it. Looks like others are having problems with it too, although I'm not sure if it's the same hex code. It also doesn't do such a good job browsing, at least on this machine. Stalled typing in some cases, and cursor freezes. That's from Dan.
Yeah, I installed IE9. It's nothing but giving me headaches. I had to install Opera for my wife because she uses IE and I use Firefox. But no, well, there's a reason they call it beta. So
can she go back to 8?
She doesn't know about doing that. I haven't had the time to really work with it right now. But as soon as I am, I'm going to go back to 8.
Cool. I think it was who was talking about Opera to me? I think it was Tom Hemrad in the chat. Said he's using Opera and likes it. So it's cool. I think it was.
Yeah, Tom. I've used Opera in the past, and it's a fine browser. No problem with it.
Cool. Last email here. Hi, I have a DV6000. When I turn... Okay, this is not a person who speaks English natively, I don't think, unless he just wrote this fast. Hi, I have a DV96000. When I turn on is not turn on like normal. I need to hold the power button about 20 seconds to get boot up. I don't know what happened. I think can be the power button board or the cable. Do you have any advice or idea for my case? Thanks for your help. That's Tom. Well, Tom, the DV6000s do definitely have power problems, but it's what you're saying. If you have to hold it down for 20 seconds, That's different than the normal power. That's different from the reflow problems, or in Latvia's case, the reballing problem on the DV6000. This sounds like it may be, you have to hold it down for 20 seconds to get boot up. I don't know. I have seen the power cables, the ribbons that go to the power button, get shredded, especially when somebody tries to take that laptop apart, because they sit right on the motherboard and they go across about 6 inches across the motherboard. And if you pull them the wrong way, they just rip up against the circuitry on the motherboard, and they become all messed up. So I've seen that. It could be those ribbon cables. It could be a bad button. It sounds like a motherboard issue to me, though, man. If you have to hold a button down for 20 seconds, and if that's consistently what turns the computer on, then I could say motherboard. But if it's inconsistent, if it's like 1 second problem the first time, then 20 seconds the second time you try it, then 30 seconds, and then 4 seconds, like, okay, if it's intermittent, if it's crazy like that, it's probably not the motherboard. I don't know, but it could be the cable. But if it's solidly 20 seconds every time, I don't know. Could be something like that. RAM, maybe? I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I'm trying to scratch my head with this. I have not had experience with a DV6000 yet, but on that compact Rosario I mentioned earlier, there's like a separate circuit board for the power switch, and then there's like an internet button, and then there's like a mail button, and a couple other buttons. On that particular repair, this guy has been giving me computer after computer. So when I went back like maybe the second or third time with the third computer, he goes, Kevin, this switch won't work, but if I press the internet switch, it'll come on. And it happened to me when I was putting it back together. Does the DV6000 have a separate circuit board for
Yes.
dashboard? Okay. This one would come out of alignment, just out of alignment enough to where you would have to press the internet button instead of the power button to come on.
Right.
So maybe it's just that little strip where the dashboard buttons are, to make it enough so it's not making contact.
Yeah, it could be. The whole strip is it's attached to that top hinge cover plate. Make sure that that's straight. And then make sure the cables from that to the motherboard. It's stupid. Those cables are draped all the way across the motherboard. It's not a short cable, and they get messed up too. So it seems like something in that area. But if it's happening 20 seconds every time, that's just weird.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. If it were me, I would just go for that quick launch switch area and maybe just replace that first.
Okay. All right, well, let's play some voicemails here. I have to kill your video for a second, Kevin, while I get these, because it's just on Skype. You should be able to hear them, but
okay.
Let's see. I think I got the whole voicemail problem fixed. So let's see if this all goes well. These are back. These are old voicemails. So if they're a little old and talking about older shows, bear with me. I want to play them because you guys sent them to me, and you deserve to hear them. So does everybody else. But I just had a bit of a voicemail problem the last 2 weeks. So some of them are going to be old, and we will get them all played. Before I play the voicemails, don't use the old number. Don't use the 610 624 number. Call 7076 Podnut. That's the new number to use for voicemails. That will work out much better for me. We won't have problems. Yeah.
On that number, is there an area code? Because I tried that, and Skype said no area code.
It's not Podnuts. It's 7076 Podnut.
Yeah, that's what I put in. But it said Skype needs an area code.
7076 PODNUT. That's 9 numbers. 7. How many numbers in a phone number? 10? 7076 PODNUT. No, that's 10.
Okay.
I'll try it. I'll try it after the show. But thanks for letting me know that. It should work, but
I could have been typing it wrong too. So
I'll check it out too. All right, this is voicemail from Bob, and here you go.
Hey, Steve, it's Bob from Copyright Computer Repair. I just got done listening to your podcast.
No audio, Steve.
269, excuse me. The
okay, Kevin. I'll try to get you on the next
about
one.
The cursor moving all around as he was trying to type. I had a couple customers that had similar problems. In fact, 2 of them I remember, the solution was they simply were just hitting the trackpad with their hand as they're typing. And I found that certain models have switches where you can actually turn off the trackpad. I guess that's to help you when you're doing some serious typing. And other ones, you can go into the settings and just lower the sensitivity. But that's the issues. I've seen that happen before, and that's the way it was resolved with me and a few of my customers. I hope that helps. Take care, and I'm still out here, and I'm still listening. Bye-bye, Steve.
Thank you very much, Bob. More input on the crazy cursor problem. Kevin, you could hear that towards the end, right?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the next one. It is from Door to Door Geek, sent on the 27th. Here we go.
Hello, Steve, Door to Door Geek. Just wanted to call up about the Lalo episode and about PVR on a computer. Of course, I'm going to say Mint TV, but no Blu-ray support in Linux. So if he wants Blu-ray, he does have to go Windows. The one caveat I'll say is he does decide to go with a hardware internal-based TV tuner card. He has to make sure the card does hardware encoding, i.e. encoding on the card. No cheap $20, $30 TV tuner card is going to do encoding on the card, which means it's going to do software encoding, which means it's going to hand it to the processor. If that's the case, he has to make sure he has a spare gigahertz of processor for each TV tuner card he wants to be able to watch or record. If you have a dual tuner card and it does software encoding, you better make sure you have 2 gigahertz of spare processing power to encode HD video. If you do hardware encoding, which I utterly suggest, you're going to pay more for the card, $80, $90, maybe $100, but you can get by with encoding HD video on a 600 megahertz processor. If he's going to go Windows, that Athlon dual core should be perfectly fine, and if he does go with the internal card, as long as it does hardware encoding. That's the big tip of the day from Door to Door Geek, because I'm fresh out. I want to thank Lalo for coming on the show, sharing some fantastic tips. And I want to thank him for everything that he does in the forum. Keep up the great work, Steve. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
And that was from our friend, Door to Door Geek. See, the problem with playing these old ones is Lalo may have already built that Media Center PC. But for anybody else doing it, it's great advice. Get a hardware encoding TV tuner card and save your processor some sweat. Okay, this is one from a person. I don't even know who this is, but I'm about to find out. Here we go. First time hearing this one.
Hey, Steve. This is Adam Head with Tech Head PC.
Oh, it's Adam.
I just want to call and thank you for the help with the suggestions for my site the last few days. And also, I had a quick question for you. I have a friend who called and said her laptop screen is getting dim. And then I told her, well, it probably needs a new screen. I'll take a look at it. And then she emailed me back and said, well, actually, we noticed it's getting dim when they plug it into the wall. And then it's brighter when it's not plugged into the wall. I struck me as strange, so I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts maybe on what your first instinct might be. I have not a whole lot of experience with laptop screens, but I've done a few replacements, and I'm getting more experience with it. But this just seems strange. It almost seems backwards that it would dim, if it wasn't plugged in, just because it's trying to save battery life. So I'm not sure what's going on. My first hunch is still that the screen needs to be replaced, possibly. But just wanted to, before I got it, see what you guys thought. So thanks for everything you guys do in the show, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah, we did play that one from Adam before. I remember hearing that. We did play that one. See, I'm just fumbling through emails now. This is just me being an idiot. Or voicemails. But
You said it.
Thanks. Did we get a good answer on that one? It's reversed. When he plugs it into the wall, it goes dim. When he unplugs it, it gets bright.
I don't remember anything.
Yeah, my suggestion was just check the power options. You can set the brightness to be different when you plug it in than when you take it out of the wall. And that can get, you could set it however you want. So you could set it to go on full brightness on battery and max dimness when you plug it into the wall. So I would definitely go into power options and check that out. Thanks, Adam. And here's another one from Adam. Here we go. Hopefully he figured it out.
Hey, Steve, this is Adam with Tech PC again. You probably already know this, but I was listening to episode 271
and still don't hear the voicemail.
Okay, that's just him telling me he can't hear voicemails. All right, let me just roll through these. We're almost through them here. This is area code 208. Don't know who this is. Let's check this one out.
Hey, Steve. I know this is your old number, but I hope you get this. This is William from the computers. I appreciate you looking at your...
That was email telling me he can't hear his voicemails. And we got Door to Door Geek, and these are some recent ones. Here's on the 7th. Let's play this one from Door.
Hello, Steve. It's Door to Door Geek. I got a call up about the Chris full episode Podnutz. Chris is the man. I got to reinforce everybody once again, because some people need to hammer it in their head. People do not, if somebody brings you an infected computer, they're not paying you to take the infection off the computer. They're paying you the knowledge of what to do because they don't know how to do it. And you got to remember, that knowledge took a long time to build up. Time equals money. Always. And, always remember social engineering is what I always call it. And Chris talked about how to talk to people. You got to first let your people talk. That's what I always do. I always let the customer talk as much as possible so I know what level they are at to make sure not to speak over their head. Because Chris said it, and he's exactly right. Once you speak over top someone's head, they do not want to deal with you at all. They want to cut it off and get somebody else. Money is not always the deciding. I find money is rarely the deciding factor with customers. It's just customer service, happiness, and how you present yourself. These determine how much they are willing to pay. I can't thank Chris enough. I've learned these little nuggets from talking to him on the Nuts at Night Post show, and I thoroughly enjoy just hearing him talk about business, salesmanship, and just how everybody should handle themselves. Because when he opens his mouth, he's right. So I want to definitely thank Chris for coming on, encourage him, put some notes together again and come on whenever you're ready. I will be ready, willing, and waiting. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, Door to Door Geek. He's talking about the Chris Berry episode. Where
anybody?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Anybody that has not listened to that episode, please download it and listen to it. There is a wealth of information from Chris. He's a good guy. He seems to know what he's talking about, and I will be using some of his suggestions starting the first quarter of next year. But as far as listening to him today at work, I was just utterly fascinated by what he does in order to make money.
Is that when you listened to it today?
Yes.
Oh, good. So it's fresh in your mind. Yeah, it's episode number 54. Check it out. It's Chris Berry. It's a dynamite Podnutz episode. We're getting all kinds of feedback for it. If you don't know, if you haven't heard it yet, all I can say is listen to it if you're a technician, and you'll be happy you did, and you'll be amazed that you got that information for free. So, and we just did a new Podnutz episode, number 55, with Gizmo from Gizmo's Freeware Reviews. Awesome episode, too. You got to check that out. He's got a great site for freeware. It's reviewed by real people, and they care about what they do, and it's not business motivated. So it's the straight up talk about freeware. It's really good. That's at you can just type Gizmo's Freeware on Google to find his site. But definitely listen to the Podnutz episode, and you'll get to hear him on it. All right, that's all I'm going to do now for voicemails. We'll do the rest of the voicemails, including all past Williams voicemails and some Door-to-Door Geek ones on Monday for the next show. Kevin, Donna, thank you very, very much for coming on the show. I appreciate all your stories. I feel warm and fuzzy, like I just got story time from you.
Did you get your marshmallow all nice and toasted there?
Yes. I tucked myself in. I'm sleeping. Yeah, that was great. I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on the show, and I hope you sign up in the future.
The Emperor's Stories.
Yes. We'll have more lighting on you next time.
Well,
all right, man.
Well, I appreciate being here, and I'll be signing up as soon as I get some more accounts in and letting you guys know about those.
Definitely. I appreciate that. And for everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys too. That's going to be it for Podnutz Daily for today. Tune in tomorrow, Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do Android App Addicts. If you don't have an Android phone, listen anyway. You'll like it. After that is Nuts at Night with Steve D'Amico. If you have never heard that before, tune into that. You'll like it. So we'll see you guys live then tomorrow on Thursday. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.